If you are here right now, something deeper than chance has carried you into this exact moment. Your future self, the version of you already existing inside coherent possibility, has been reaching across time, sending signals through the invisible architecture of your life. And finally, you are listening. This is not random content passing across your screen. This is not another video you accidentally found. This is a quantum appointment with destiny, one you scheduled before you even understood what destiny really meant. Close your eyes for just 3 seconds. In the quantum field, every timeline exists at once. Your past, your present, and your future are not separated the way the mind imagines them to be. They are all happening now, vibrating at different frequencies, layered inside the same field of possibility. And the version of you who has already moved beyond the pain, the confusion, the uncertainty, and the struggle you are facing now, has been trying to reach you. They have been whispering through synchronicities, through sudden gut feelings, through strange inner pulls, through moments exactly like this one. And listen carefully, you passed the test. You would not be here otherwise. The universe does not waste energy on closed systems. And the fact that your awareness found this moment means your inner world has already proven it is ready to expand. The timeline you have been unconsciously shaping through your thoughts, emotions, and vibrational signature has just shifted. Not tomorrow. Not after you fix everything. Not when you finally understand the whole map. Right now, in this breath, the trajectory changed. Somewhere, maybe minutes ago, maybe months ago, there was a moment when you stopped fighting reality. A moment when you stopped demanding that life be different from what it was. A moment when you finally, quietly, surrendered to the intelligence that has been orchestrating your path from the very beginning. That moment was not weakness. It was your graduation. Your frequency signature moved from resistance into allowance, and the quantum field responded immediately. Your future self knows something you are only beginning to. Remember, consciousness does not merely observe reality, it authors it. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every belief you carry creates a standing wave in the quantum field. And when those waves reach critical coherence, when they begin to align with the deeper pattern of who you are becoming, that is when timelines collapse into manifestation. But here is what almost no one tells you about quantum jumping between realities. It does not happen through force. It happens through recognition. You do not create a new timeline from nothing. You recognize the one you have already been building. You do not manifest a future as if it were far away. You remember it into being. The version of you who already has everything your soul desires already exists. They are reaching back through time, sending you the frequency codes required to tune into their reality. And this is where everything changes. The waiting, the struggling, the forcing, the endless pushing, that was the old operating system. You have been running outdated consciousness software, trying to create through effort what can only emerge through alignment. But your future self has already downloaded the upgrade, and it is transmitting to you now through the very awareness that brought you here. The quantum field does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. And the real you, the one beyond the stories, beyond the limitations, beyond the inherited patterns you were taught to carry, is already whole, already connected, already the vibrational match for everything you have been seeking. The gap between who you think you are and who you actually are is beginning to close. Let me explain something about timeline mechanics that can shift the way you understand your entire life. In quantum physics, the observer effect shows that consciousness collapses infinite possibilities into a single experience. But the deeper truth is this: you are not just observing your life. You are the quantum observer collapsing all timelines into the one you are experiencing now. Every moment of awareness, every choice to remain present instead of falling into autopilot, every time you choose love over fear, you are literally selecting which reality becomes real. Your future self is not simply successful, healed, or abundant. They are coherent. They have learned to maintain vibrational integrity no matter what the external world is doing. They have discovered that reality is responsive, not fixed. They know that what you call manifestation is really conscious participation in the eternal dance between intention and attention, between possibility and probability. Right now, your nervous system is recalibrating itself to hold greater levels of possibility than it was ever conditioned to believe were available to you. The test you passed was never external. No one handed you a score. No one gave you permission. No invisible authority decided whether you were worthy enough to enter this next chapter. The real test was always internal. The question was simple, but life-changing. Are you finally ready to stop living as a victim of circumstances and begin living as a conscious creator of your experience? Are you ready to stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "How is this shaping me into who I am becoming?" Are you ready to stop waiting for approval and quietly give that permission to yourself? Your future self has watched you walk through initiations most people never even recognize as initiations. They saw the nights when you wanted to disappear into comfort but chose growth instead. They saw the moments when telling the truth cost you acceptance, yet you chose authenticity over approval anyway. They saw every painful experience, every ending, every uncertainty, every season where nothing made sense. Especially those moments. Because those were not punishments. They were preparations. Every difficult experience was reshaping your inner architecture so you could eventually recognize this moment when it arrived. This is the moment you stop living life by default and begin living it by design. Not by controlling every outcome. Not by forcing reality into submission. But by aligning yourself with the deeper current that has been carrying you the entire time. Your future self understands something your old identity could not fully grasp. Reality is not created through manipulation. It is created through calibration. The inner world comes first. When your inner state changes, reality reorganizes itself around that new signal. The timeline you just unlocked is not about getting different things. It is about becoming a different person. It is about stepping into the version of yourself that already naturally aligns with what you once chased. This new timeline is not defined by possession. It is defined by embodiment. Being peaceful instead of constantly proving yourself. Being in flow instead of constantly forcing. Being aligned with the intelligence already moving through life itself. You spent so much of your energy trying to rearrange external circumstances, while your future self discovered the deeper secret. When you change your inner state, circumstances begin rearranging themselves around you. Change your inner dialogue, and suddenly the world responds in a different language. Change your relationship with time, and time stops feeling like a prison and starts becoming an ally. This is why synchronicities have become stronger lately. This is why certain people are quietly disappearing from your life, while others unexpectedly arrive. This is why opportunities connected to your authentic nature are beginning to open, while situations requiring you to betray yourself are slowly collapsing. Life is responding to the person you are becoming. Reality is reorganizing itself around the signal you now carry. And your future self wants you to understand something essential. You are not behind. You never were. Every delay redirected you. Every detour prepared you. Every closed door protected you from becoming trapped inside a version of life too small for who you were meant to become. The timing of this awakening is not accidental. The version of you capable of receiving this truth simply did not exist before now. You had to become this person first before you could step into this new reality. So take a breath and truly feel the weight of that realization. You are not waiting for your future anymore. In ways you still cannot fully see, you are already walking inside it. The new version of you no longer shrinks itself just to make other people comfortable. Your future self stopped obsessing over what others think the moment they realize something profound. People are not seeing you as you truly are. They are seeing reflections of themselves through you. Everyone is living inside their own internal reality, interpreting the world through their own wounds, beliefs, fears, desires, and emotional patterns. And once your future self understood this, they stopped taking everything personally. They stopped trying to control how they were perceived because they became far more interested in how they were actually living. There is a freedom that appears when you no longer build your identity around other people's approval. A silence enters the nervous system. A spaciousness. You stop performing. You stop editing your soul to fit into rooms that were never designed for your expansion. And this shift you are experiencing right now is not only personal. It is collective. Every time a human being steps into their authentic power, it creates a ripple effect that silently gives others permission to do the same. Every person who chooses truth over performance weakens the illusion for everyone else still trapped inside it. Your awakening does not only change your life. It sends waves through the quantum field that touch people you may never even meet. Your healing becomes an invisible invitation for healing in others. Your courage becomes proof that transformation is possible. And yet, your future self wants you to remember something essential before you go any deeper into this path. This journey is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is not about reaching a state where problems disappear forever. It is about learning how to meet life from an entirely different inner state. It is not about controlling existence. It is about learning how to move with it, like water flowing with the current instead of fighting the river. It is not even about getting everything you once thought you wanted. It is about reaching a place where you begin trusting life so deeply that you can love what arrives, even before you fully understand why it arrived. Because your future self has discovered that there is an intelligence quietly orchestrating far more than the logical mind can comprehend. And if what you are hearing right now feels less like information and more like recognition, then maybe this message was always meant to find you. Maybe this is not just content anymore. Maybe this is resonance. A gathering of people remembering who they are beneath the noise of conditioning. A field of individuals choosing to live from their highest possibility instead of their deepest fear. Every person who aligns with this understanding strengthens the invisible field for everyone else connected to it. And this is why your future self has been waiting for this exact moment. Waiting for the moment you finally remember that the future is not something happening to you. It is something happening through you. You were never meant to remain a passive observer watching life move around you. You were meant to become an active participant in shaping the reality you step into. Your future self has been holding space for this awakening all along, knowing that once this realization fully landed inside you, nothing would ever feel the same again. They already understand what you are only beginning to sense. Awareness is the greatest technology you will ever possess. Presence is the deepest practice you will ever need. And love is the only force powerful enough to transform every layer of your existence. They stopped searching outside themselves for answers that were always waiting within. They stopped begging the universe for signs and finally realized that they themselves were the sign they had been waiting for all along. You are not separate from the miracle. You are the miracle. You are not separate from the love you seek. You are the source of it. Not because you reached some impossible standard, but because you finally stopped running from what you have always been beneath the fear, beneath the shame, beneath the conditioning. Your future self is simply you without the story that says you are small, broken, or incomplete. And the resistance you still feel sometimes, that is only the old timeline trying to survive. It is the old identity fighting to remain familiar. But it no longer has power over you, because now you can see through the illusion. You are not your circumstances. You are the awareness moving through them. You are not your thoughts. You are the one witnessing them arise. You are not your emotions. You are the space vast enough to hold them all without becoming trapped inside them. And this new timeline you are stepping into carries a completely different texture. Not because challenges vanish, but because you meet them differently now. From certainty instead of desperation. From trust instead of fear. From love instead of lack. Your future self moves through life the way a master sailor moves across the ocean. They do not control the wind. They simply know how to adjust the sails. They have learned that resistance is the true source of suffering. What you constantly fight tends to remain. What you fully embrace begins to transform. And once this truth settles into your body, life stops feeling like something attacking you and starts revealing itself as something shaping you. Every encounter, every delay, every ending, every unexpected turn, even this moment right now, especially this moment, has been perfectly positioned to support your evolution into the person you were always becoming. Your future self needs you to feel something deeply now. You are safe to be powerful. You are safe to be seen. You are safe to succeed. You are safe to be fully loved without shrinking yourself first. The stories that convinced you otherwise were never ultimate truths. They were inherited programs running silently beneath your awareness. Programs you absorbed, but never consciously chose. And now, for the first time, you are becoming aware enough to rewrite them. The quantum field responds to clarity. The clearer you become about who you truly are beneath all conditioning, the faster reality begins reorganizing itself around that truth. The more honestly you align with your authentic nature, the more life naturally starts flowing toward your highest good. And the more deeply you trust the process, the more the process quietly reveals that it was guiding you the entire time. If this transmission is landing in your awareness as truth rather than just information, then I invite you to subscribe, not only to this channel, but to the frequency we are creating together here. Because this is more than content. This is a field of remembrance, a consciousness community made of people choosing to live from their highest possibility instead of their deepest fear. Every person who resonates with this message strengthens that invisible field for everyone else connected to it. And maybe that is why you were guided here in the first place. Not simply to watch, but to remember. Your future self no longer experiences synchronicity as something rare or mysterious. Slowly, you begin to realize it has always been the natural rhythm of an aligned life. The signs were never absent. You were simply tuned to different signals before. Now, your awareness is becoming sensitive enough to notice the hidden language moving beneath ordinary moments, the strange timing, the repeating patterns, the conversations that arrive exactly when you need them, the feeling that life itself is quietly responding to you. Not because you suddenly became special, but because you are finally tuning into frequencies that were always surrounding you. Think about how a radio works. Every station is broadcasting at the same time, yet you only hear the one your receiver is tuned into. Reality operates the same way. Every possibility, every version of your life, every timeline already exists simultaneously inside the quantum field, layered like invisible currents moving through the same space. And the version of you living at your highest potential simply learned how to tune into a different station. Slowly, you are learning how to hear it too. This is why your relationship with time is beginning to change. You no longer experience life as a painful climb from emptiness toward fulfillment. Something inside you is starting to understand that life is happening now. Completely now. The version of you inside this new timeline feels reality as a living present moment where everything already exists in seed form, waiting only for alignment to emerge into physical experience. Past, present, and future begin collapsing into one field of creative potential. And this is not fantasy. This is what happens when awareness is no longer trapped inside inherited beliefs about how reality is supposed to function. Then you begin discovering something even deeper about desire itself. Desire was never proof that something is missing from your life. Desire is memory. Every longing you carry is the echo of a reality that already exists somewhere inside the field of possibility. You never truly desire what is impossible. You only feel drawn toward realities that become inevitable once your inner state aligns with them. The ache in your chest is not absence. It is recognition. Your soul remembering a future it already touched long before your mind could understand it. And if something inside you is moving as you hear these words, if you feel resonance deeper than logic, then take a moment to like this video and subscribe so these transmissions can continue reaching the people standing at the edge of their own awakening. Because your presence here strengthens the signal. It helps this frequency travel further into the lives of people who are finally ready to remember who they are. Now let's go even deeper into the mechanics behind this shift through the lens of quantum entanglement. In quantum physics, particles that once interacted remain connected no matter how far apart they appear to be. When one changes, the other responds instantly across distance. In the same way, your present awareness and your future self remain deeply entangled. Every expansion happening inside you right now immediately alters the reality connected to your future timeline. And every breakthrough already integrated by that future version of you sends signals back toward you as intuition, sudden clarity, emotional knowing, and inspired action. This is why certain thoughts feel different lately. Why some ideas seem to bypass logic completely and land somewhere deeper inside your body. You are not imagining it. The version of you who already crossed this threshold is constantly transmitting upgrades into your awareness. These are not random thoughts appearing from nowhere. They are signals from a version of you that already moved beyond the confusion you are still trying to understand. The timeline you unlocked operates through what science calls non-local awareness. Your awareness is not produced by the brain. The brain is simply the receiver, an antenna translating infinite possibility into temporary human experience. And slowly, You are learning how to adjust that antenna more consciously, tuning yourself toward the reality you truly wish to embody. This is why meditation becomes something far deeper than relaxation. It becomes technology for inner transformation. Every moment of conscious stillness begins rewiring the pathways of your mind, so you can receive greater levels of possibility. You are literally training your inner receiver to detect signals from timelines where your highest potential is already alive. You no longer meditate to escape life. You meditate to tune into the version of life your soul has been trying to reach all along. But then the realization deepens even further. You begin understanding that emotion is not just something you feel. Emotion itself is creative force. Every emotion becomes a signal broadcast into the quantum field. Joy draws experiences aligned with joy. Gratitude draws realities aligned with gratitude. Love draws experiences that reflect love back toward you. Not because the universe mechanically rewards positivity, but because awareness naturally creates more of whatever it holds with emotional intensity. This is why you stop trying to control your emotions. Instead, you begin working with them. Emotions become guidance. They reveal where your awareness is focused. So when fear appears, you no longer fight it or judge yourself for feeling it. You simply notice what reality your attention is feeding and gently redirect yourself toward the experience you actually want to create. Emotion stops becoming an enemy. It becomes instruction. It becomes navigation. And eventually, you uncover the deeper truth of coherence itself. In physics, coherence happens when waves move together instead of canceling each other out. The same thing happens inside you. When your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions all move in the same direction, they generate a powerful, standing wave inside the quantum field, strong enough that reality begins reflecting it back almost effortlessly. This is why manifestation feels impossible when your inner world is divided. If one part of you says, "I want abundance," while another part quietly believes you do not deserve it, while your actions remain trapped in fear and survival, the signals interfere with one another. The waves collapse against themselves. But when every layer of your being begins aligning with the same truth, when your mind, body, emotions, and identity move together, manifestation stops feeling forced. It becomes natural as breathing. Challenges do not disappear just because you step into a higher state of awareness. Your future self learned that truth very deeply. The storms still come. Uncertainty still appears. Endings still happen. But now, those moments are no longer experienced as punishments or evidence that something has gone wrong. They are experienced as invitations. Every challenge becomes a doorway asking a single question. Will you contract back into fear or expand further into love? And the moment you begin changing the way you perceive difficulty, the entire energetic structure around that difficulty begins to transform. The obstacle itself may still exist, but your relationship to it changes completely. What once felt like suffering begins revealing itself as refinement. What once felt like destruction begins exposing hidden intelligence underneath it. Your future self discovered that even pain can become sacred when viewed through the lens of awakening. This is why relationships begin changing so dramatically as your inner world shifts. Relationships are mirrors. They always were. Every connection reflects something happening inside your own awareness. And when your inner frequency changes, the people around you either begin resonating with that new reality or they slowly drift away from it. Some relationships deepen beyond anything you thought possible because they are built on truth instead of performance. Others begin dissolving because they were only sustained by old wounds, unconscious patterns, or survival identities. And your future self no longer labels this as good or bad. They understand resonance. They understand that not everyone is meant to travel every chapter of your evolution beside you. Some souls arrive to awaken you. Some arrive to challenge you. Some arrive only long enough to help you remember who you are before disappearing again like a dream. But every encounter leaves an imprint. Every person becomes part of the architecture shaping your awakening. This is also where your future self discovered something profound about faith. Not blind belief. Not pretending everything is perfect while secretly drowning in fear. Real faith. Quantum faith. The kind of faith that remains steady even when the physical evidence has not arrived yet. Your future self learned how to become comfortable with not knowing exactly how life would unfold, while still trusting that what belonged to them was already moving toward them. They stopped obsessively trying to calculate every detail of the future because they realized something liberating. The mind does not need to know the path for the soul to recognize the direction. The more they tried to control every outcome, the more disconnected they felt from the deeper intelligence guiding their life. But when they relaxed their grip, reality began opening in unexpected ways. Opportunities appeared through channels logic never could have predicted. Doors opened that force could never unlock. And timing itself began feeling almost supernatural. Your future self no longer wastes energy trying to force the how. They focus on clarifying the what and deepening the why. Because once intention becomes coherent enough, reality starts organizing pathways on its own. And then your future self uncovered one of the deepest truths of healing itself. Healing was never about fixing a broken version of yourself. Healing is remembering that beneath every wound, there was always something untouched. Trauma, pain, heartbreak, shame, all of it exists within specific layers of experience. But beneath those layers, your essence remained whole the entire time. Your future self stopped identifying completely with the wounded identity and began identifying with the awareness capable of witnessing the wound. And that shift changed everything. The past itself did not disappear, but the meaning attached to the past transformed completely. Pain became wisdom. Grief became compassion. Limitation became expansion. This is the true alchemy of awakening. Not escaping suffering, but transmuting it into consciousness. Your future self realized they no longer needed to spend their entire life trying to heal the past. Instead, they learned to embody such a powerful state of wholeness in the present that the past naturally reorganized itself around this new awareness. The story lost its grip. The old identity stopped feeling real. And eventually, even the wounds that once defined them became evidence of transformation instead of evidence of brokenness. This is why your future self also understands service differently now. Service is not saving people. Service is not sacrificing yourself until nothing remains. Service is becoming so aligned with your authentic nature that your very presence gives other people permission to remember theirs. Your energy becomes medicine without needing to convince anyone of anything. Consciousness itself becomes contagious. You cannot transmit a frequency you do not embody, which means the greatest contribution you can make to the world is not pretending to be enlightened. It is becoming radically honest about who you truly are. And from that honesty, something extraordinary begins to happen. Abundance stops being about getting more and starts becoming about being more. Slowly, you begin realizing something profound about abundance that changes the way you move through reality itself. Scarcity was never truly about money, opportunities, love, or success. At its core, scarcity was the feeling that somehow you were not enough. And abundance was never simply about having more. It was always about becoming more. The moment you begin embodying abundance internally, the external world starts reorganizing itself around that new state almost automatically. Once you truly recognize yourself as an infinite expression of creativity moving through human form, abundance stops feeling distant because you no longer block it with unconscious beliefs about your worthiness. You stop chasing prosperity with desperation. You stop trying to force manifestation from a state of fear. Instead, you naturally become the kind of person who attracts abundance by bringing real value into the lives of others, by solving meaningful problems, by expressing your unique gifts in service of something greater than yourself. And gradually, you understand that the universe itself is inherently abundant. The only thing capable of creating lack is the illusion of separation inside the human mind. But this abundance reaches far beyond material things. You begin living in emotional abundance. You no longer ration love. You no longer wait for perfect circumstances before allowing yourself to feel joy. Happiness stops becoming a reward you must earn through suffering. Mentally, your inner world becomes expansive, creative, open, instead of trapped in repetitive loops of fear and limitation. Spiritually, you stop experiencing yourself as an isolated person struggling alone against life. You begin feeling deeply connected to the same intelligence moving through all things. Take a moment now and write this into the comments. I am already living my future. Let reality feel the signal you are sending into the quantum field. Because this is not empty positive thinking. This is conscious participation in timeline selection. Every thought you repeatedly think, every emotion you continuously embody, every identity you strengthen through repetition is informing reality about which possibility you are choosing to experience. And eventually, you begin uncovering something deeply liberating about forgiveness. Forgiveness was never pretending the pain did not happen. It was never approving harmful behavior or denying what wounded you. True forgiveness is liberation. It is the moment you stop chaining your own awareness to an old wound. Because resentment creates an invisible energetic bond between you and the very pain you are trying to escape. When you forgive, you are not changing the past. You are changing your relationship to it. You are freeing your awareness from emotional entanglement so your energy can finally move toward new possibilities instead of endlessly circling old pain. Eventually, you stop carrying resentment toward anyone. Not because you become spiritually perfect, but because you realize resentment is too expensive. It consumes creative force that could have been used to build a different reality. And then something even deeper happens. You realize forgiveness must include yourself too. You forgive yourself for not knowing then what you know now. You forgive yourself for choices made from fear, loneliness, confusion, survival, or pain. You forgive yourself for trying to become perfect while silently carrying wounds nobody else could see. And slowly, you begin understanding that self-forgiveness is not weakness. It is necessary for inner coherence. You cannot hate yourself enough to transform. You can only love yourself deeply enough to evolve. Then another realization quietly unfolds inside you. Creativity is not something you occasionally do. Creativity is what you are. You are life itself expressing through human form. Every thought, every emotion, every choice continuously shapes reality. The difference now is that you are finally becoming conscious of the process. And once this awareness deepens, everything changes. Work stops feeling like survival and starts becoming expression. Relationships stop feeling transactional and begin feeling like collaborative art. Even ordinary moments become sacred because full presence transforms them into living meditation. Washing dishes, walking alone at night, listening to rain against a window, sitting silently beside someone you love. You no longer divide life into spiritual moments and ordinary moments. You begin realizing existence itself is the spiritual experience. And eventually, you sense something even greater moving through you. You learn how to connect with the collective field of human awareness, the invisible reservoir containing wisdom, memory, archetypes, and possibility far beyond the individual mind. Your greatest ideas no longer feel forced. Sometimes they simply arrive through you. Inspiration starts feeling less like personal achievement and more like transmission. And suddenly, certain moments begin carrying an almost supernatural feeling. Because something greater than the isolated self is trying to express itself through your life. So you stop obsessively taking credit for every insight. Instead, you focus on becoming clear enough to receive ideas honestly and express them authentically. And eventually, you master something even deeper, presence itself. Presence is not merely being in the moment. Presence is becoming so fully immersed in life that the separation between observer and experience begins dissolving. You no longer feel like someone standing outside life, watching it happen from a distance. You become life experiencing itself through your perspective. And from that state, ordinary moments transform forever. A single breath feels profound. Silence feels alive. Even stillness begins carrying intelligence within it. Because eventually, you realize something most people spend their entire lives overlooking. The present moment is the only place where creation can actually happen. The past exists only as memory. The future exists only as possibility. But healing, transformation, manifestation, awakening, all of it happens now. Always now. So you stop living inside the story of who you used to be. You stop obsessing over fantasies about who you might become someday. Instead, you learn how to fully inhabit this moment exactly as it is. And you also begin understanding that presence is not perfection. Sometimes the mind still loops. Sometimes emotions still pull you away. But now, you notice it faster. And instead of attacking yourself for drifting, you gently return. Again and again. until presence slowly becomes your natural state rather than a rare experience. Eventually, you begin realizing that reality has been responding to your state of being far more than your spoken words. For years, you may have tried to change your life by forcing positive thoughts while secretly carrying fear, shame, self-doubt, or exhaustion underneath the surface. But the quantum field does not respond to masks. It responds to coherence. It responds to what is true within you emotionally, mentally, and energetically. And this is why pretending never truly worked. Your future was never waiting for a performance. It was waiting for alignment. The moment your inner world begins moving in the same direction, reality starts shifting in ways that feel almost impossible to explain logically. You stop needing to convince life to support you because your state itself becomes the invitation. And this changes the way you approach manifestation completely. You no longer obsess over techniques, rituals, or trying to force the universe to obey your desires. Instead, you become deeply intentional about the identity you embody each day. Because eventually, you understand that your identity is the real magnet, not temporary emotion, not desperate visualization. Identity. The version of you who already lives in peace thinks differently, breathes differently, chooses differently, reacts differently, and carries reality differently within the body. And little by little, you begin becoming that person before external evidence fully appears. This is why your future self no longer waits for proof before changing internally. You stop saying, "I'll trust myself once success arrives." You stop saying, "I'll feel worthy once somebody loves me." You stop postponing your wholeness until circumstances finally improve. Instead, you begin practicing the emotional state now. You rehearse abundance before money arrives. You practice peace before the outer world becomes quiet. You embody love before another person reflects it back to you. And slowly, reality starts matching the signal you consistently hold. This is the deeper meaning behind collapsing timelines. You are not forcing reality into existence. You are stabilizing yourself into the version of reality already waiting for your alignment. And there is another truth your future self discovered that changes everything. The body remembers. Long before the conscious mind understands a new reality, the nervous system still clings to familiar survival patterns. This is why transformation can feel uncomfortable even when it is leading you towards something beautiful. The body often interprets the unknown as danger, even when the unknown contains freedom. So when you begin evolving beyond old limitations, part of you may temporarily feel anxiety, resistance, confusion, or emotional heaviness. Not because you are failing, but because the old identity is dissolving. And instead of attacking yourself for feeling those emotions, you begin learning how to sit with them compassionately. You stop treating discomfort as evidence that something is wrong. You begin seeing it as evidence that something inside you is changing. This is why your future self stopped rushing transformation. You cannot force a flower to bloom by pulling on its petals. Growth unfolds naturally when the conditions are right. And your only real responsibility is to create inner conditions where truth can emerge safely. So instead of demanding instant change, you begin practicing gentleness, patience, presence. You stop measuring your evolution against other people's timelines because you realize every soul unfolds differently. Some awaken through heartbreak, some through loss, some through silence, some through complete collapse. But every path eventually leads back toward the same remembering. The remembering that you were never separate from the life you were searching for. And eventually, this realization becomes impossible to ignore. The external world has always mirrored the relationship you carry with yourself internally. Every boundary you tolerate, every belief you repeat, every emotion you suppress, every truth you abandon to keep other people comfortable. Reality reflects it all, not as punishment, but as feedback. Life continuously reveals the hidden agreements operating beneath your awareness. And once you see this clearly, you stop blaming reality and start becoming curious about it instead. You begin asking different questions. Not, why is this happening to me? But what part of me is still aligned with this experience? And that single shift changes the entire direction of your life. Because awareness itself is transformative. The moment unconscious patterns become visible, they begin losing their power over you. Your future self understands now that awakening is not about escaping reality. It is about finally seeing reality clearly enough to consciously participate in shaping it. And the more present you become, the more reality begins responding almost immediately to subtle changes inside you. A small shift in self-worth changes the people you attract. A small shift in emotional regulation changes the opportunities you notice. A small shift in belief changes what your nervous system finally allows itself to receive. Reality becomes fluid once awareness becomes conscious enough to work with it intentionally instead of unconsciously reacting to it.